Welcome back to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
We welcome you back to Talk of the Town for this Wednesday, March 24th. I'm Gary Stevens. Time for our monthly update of what is going on at Escape Ministries. The building itself is on East 32nd Street in Howland, but its range is far beyond that building. The person who has talked to us a lot about Escape Ministries is on the other end of our Zoom connection, AJ Westendorp. AJ, good morning and welcome back to Talk of the Town.
Good morning, Gary. It's good to be back. How you doing?
We are well. Glad you are well. And since last we chatted, you being Escape Ministries have a new leader. Introduce us to the new executive director who is also joining you on the Zoom connection today.
Yeah, so the good news is, Gary, after about 8 or 9 months of searching, a long search led to some great results, and we have Todd Krygsheld, who is joining us as the executive director at Escape. So he started on March 1st. I'll let him kind of introduce himself a little bit, but we're really excited to have him. He has a lot of qualifications, a lot of the kind of heart and the kind of person that we want to work with our young people, that we want to represent the young people at Escape. So,
Todd, welcome aboard. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning, Gary. Good to be with you. And I'm excited to join this phenomenal team as we are ministering in this community. So I grew up in the south side of Chicago. College brought me to the Grand Rapids area at Reformed Bible College in about 1990. So I've been here for the last, however, I'm terrible at math, so however long that is, 31 years or something like that. I think that comes right. So I've had the privilege of serving in a lot of different capacities, youth pastor, senior pastor in the Holland area for a number of years, worked at the Holland Rescue Mission for 8 years. My last assignment, I was the lead chaplain at Ottawa County Jail for the last 3 years. And then this opportunity opened up and the Lord has allowed me to take this place. And I love it because I spent a lot of time with people who may not have benefited from Escape Ministries programs or intervention, and went a different trajectory than what we're trying to do and provide here at Escape. So I'm excited about that story. And for my own journey, my parents were divorced when I was in 5th grade, and I could have gone one of two directions. And fortunately, people like Youth for Christ, loving, caring Christian adults, entered my life, intervened in a crucial time in my life, entering high school, and charted me in a direction that was positive instead of destructive.
You mentioned about the fact this opportunity came up. How much awareness were you of Escape Ministries and the direction it was going before the necessary change or the needed filling of a vacancy in its executive director position?
Yeah, so I had intersected with Escape when I was directing the Rock Urban Youth Ministry program at Holland Rescue Mission. A lot of our students had crossed paths. I was familiar with what Escape had done. I actually had come and talked to the students a couple of times in my role as a chaplain, just kind of trying to help them see, hey, if certain directions aren't changed, this is where it could end up and what decisions could you make to not end up there. So I'd been familiar with AJ and things, and I had interacted with the previous executive director through various Lakeshore Nonprofit Alliance things as well. So very familiar with that. And then I had a good friend of this ministry, a good friend of AJ's, who said, hey, Todd, the executive director position opened up. Think that would be a great fit for you. And so I threw my hat in the ring.
Todd Krygsheld is the executive director. AJ Westendorp is also with him. If you have a question about Escape Ministries, they'll be happy to answer it at 395-1450, 395-1450. How long, Todd, what did you need to sort of get things in order so that you can get going? Were you able to hit the ground running, or did you need a little bit of time since you came on board to really get caught up to speed with what Escape is doing?
Since I was fairly familiar, and then the former interim director, Bob Ellis, and board, they did a great job in the transition of helping staff work and navigate through things. So I was really able to hit the ground running. I spent a week and a half, 2 weeks with Bob, just him saying, here's where we've been, here's where we're going. Spent time with the staff. We have a phenomenal staff here. And just they've done a lot of hard work over the last 8-9 months themselves as an organization. So that when I took over that chair, it was a fairly easy transition. And so I'm really thankful for the work that the board and Bob Ellis did in that interim time period.
Yeah,
I don't. Yeah, go ahead, AJ.
It was a pretty natural fit. I mean, it's not like, I mean, when Todd came in here, it was like he had been here for a number of years. He knows, he understood and just kind of already had the vision of what Escape does. I think that lines up. That's why you hire someone like Todd, because his life and his experience lines up with the posture and the culture and the passion that we already have. There wasn't a lot of, this is something new, this is something different. It was, yeah, this is right in line with what our staff and where our vision has always been. So we hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm.
Before we talk,
on my first day, there was a kid that had been part of my rock program that is now part of our ASAP program here. And so there was just like an instant connection, because it's just who I am. I align with the heart of Escape and the staff of Escape and the students, and it's just where I love to be.
the reason what I was going to say is I'm going to maybe take the view or maybe take a seat of maybe somebody on the board and maybe asking you, Todd, all right, which direction, what do you want to see Escape move to? Obviously, doing what it's been doing is fine, but for an organization to be successful, they need to continue to move forward. How can Escape move forward? What vision do you have for this Ministries, Todd?
So AJ and I, we were using the same language before I even so we talk about higher, wider, deeper, and longer. So we're doing some really good things really well with our alternative suspension accountability program. How do we do that higher, wider, deeper, and longer, more effective? So more kids graduate, more kids are entering college or trade schools, and so that they are successful in our community. We have a phenomenal career connections. How do we go higher, wider, deeper, and longer with that? Not just having kids work in the community, but develop skills and interests and do career assessments with them, resume preparation with them so that they're ready to enter the workforce. And then we have our Westside Fitness Boxing, which is, I think, a wonderful resource that we have that we can even build and develop as a resource for the community, to be a safe place. In fact, one of the nights I was there, I was looking across the room at a guy and he's like, "Hey, Todd." And I'm like, "How do I know you?" He goes, "Well, I met you in jail." And I said, "Oh, I remember you." And then he said, "Being here at Westside Boxing is providing me a safe place to not be in destructive places, but having a healthier place to be in, to learn how to take care of myself and be a better person for our community." So I see us growing in that way as well. And then I also see us envisioning us like a lot of the mental health things that our students and families are facing. We have a training this afternoon with community mental health. I've been in partnership with a conversation with a gentleman we're working on doing like peer support groups for mental health for our students and families. And so I just see us doing what we've been doing, higher, wider, deeper, and longer, more effectively, more sustainable.
We're talking with AJ Westendorp and Todd Krygsheld, I should say. I just want to make sure I get it correct. There's no I in that there, Todd. But Todd Krygsheld, he is the new executive director of Escape Ministries. If you have a question for those gentlemen, they'll be happy to answer it at 395-1450, 395-1450. Hey, Jay, I think I brought this up for you in the past. I'm going to bring it up with Todd as well. Dealing with those that need Escape Ministries ministry during this past year. It's been a year since the COVID-19 health protocols were put into place, and a lot of the things that Escape had wanted to do and was doing had to be at least shelved momentarily, paused, halted, or perhaps changed on a permanent basis. The challenges are still there, Todd, for providing what Escape can do, because while we are getting closer to being what we were, say, on February 29th 2020 before the outbreak. We're still not there yet. So talk a little bit about the challenges of trying to provide what Escape does to the youth of our area with some of the restrictions still in place.
Yeah, it is a challenge, but it's challenges that everybody are facing. And my perspective is that every challenge is an opportunity to step into places that we might not have gone before with that challenge. It forces us to rethink things. It forces us to really evaluate why we're doing what we're doing and how we're doing what we're doing.
And to model to our students, how do we face challenges?
Absolutely.
Now, that is one thing dealing with the students, but also on a practical level, dealing with making sure that Escape Ministries can continue to do what it does for the community. You need resources, you need capital, and some of those avenues have been closed down a little bit. Others, well, let's put it this way. It's $50,000, AJ, since the CAN ministry started taking up and getting full head of steam.
Yeah, those community supports are invaluable, and you're exactly right. We're like, how does Escape continue doing what we're doing? Well, we're a nonprofit, and we have some great staff, but we rely on volunteers to make those programs go. We've gotten some great support from the Pop Can donation drive. For all you out there, the trailer sits in Escape Ministries parking lot almost 24/7. If it's not there, it just means that we're at Meyer, and we'll be back in a few hours. And that means we've cashed almost 500,000 cans since June. So we're thankful for that. There's some other pretty big needs out there too for us right now. We're really looking to have some more volunteers to help tutor these kids through their virtual classes. That's a big need during the day after school. I'm doing that almost all week and just plugging people in with some great kids who just have a tough time doing that work from home. I think we can all resonate with working from home is kind of hard and it takes some extra motivation. So they can come here, we mask up, we do temperature checks and make that happen. There's some really great opportunities for people to be volunteer receptionists, volunteer van drivers. Those are great spots for people who just have a couple hours in the morning or afternoon to just help us be able to operate at full capacity, so that our executive director isn't answering all the phone calls, or our programs director doesn't have to run and pick up these 3 kids, and it takes an hour to do. But those are some ways that the community could really support. And with that transportation, which is a big part of our ministry right now, if anyone's got a minivan out there that they'd like to donate, we're in the market for one. So, or offer at a very, at a reduced cost. We're willing to talk.
Make sure, well, the vehicle needs to be running. Yes, I do know that Escape has young men and young women that are not too bad in fixing up vehicles and doing some auto repairs, but you don't want to have to tax them too much. And so make sure that the minivan is in good working order. Let's get a call. We are talking with the AJ Westendorp, along with Todd Krygsheld of Escape Ministries. Good morning. You're on the line.
I am a friend of Todd, known him for a long time, and I think he'll do a wonderful job.
Aw, thank you. Who is that? Or who was that?
My first name is Sandra.
Oh, hi.
All right. Appreciate the call. Thank you very much for that support. And Todd, certainly, let's put it this way. Your work is well known for those who have been involved with it. But it's a little different than what Escape had gone beforehand. And talk a little bit about maybe a little different type of Escape Ministries, or maybe improving or changing. And I know we touched upon this a little bit earlier, but there are some who would say, well, you can't relate to me. You're not in my shoes. You don't know what I'm going through. You don't know the situation. How do you respond to some young man or young woman who comes up and says, you're trying to help me, but yet you don't understand what I'm going through? How do you try to answer somebody like that?
Yeah. Well, one is I don't, because each of us walk in different people's shoes. But like I mentioned earlier, my parents were divorced in the 5th grade, and I never saw my dad again after the divorce. And so I know some, but not all. And that's why I say that's why we're here, because I know how important it was for me to have people who loved me and cared for me. So a lot of our students have experienced trauma and adverse childhood experiences. Most of our kids would probably score 6 or higher on that. But what I know to be true is that positive relationships is the trump card in that. And so whatever trauma you're bringing, I may not understand it fully, but I know that as we walk together and grow together and learn together and hold each other, cry with each other, laugh with each other, I know that is a significance that is life-changing, not just for the student, but for us as staff. Both people get changed in that process. So,
and we find when there's love and when there's care that's consistent, those barriers start to erode away. And sometimes it takes a little longer, but if you just keep showing up, then we start to see each other's humanity and understand, well, yeah, we might have grown up differently or in different towns, or we might be a different color, but if we keep showing up in the same space, we start to see each other for who we are as people. And I think that's the powerful message of, I think, a lasting and caring love and a lasting and caring community is we keep showing up and we keep caring for each other.
Yeah. As one, Todd, who has had experience dealing with the community at large and knowing what the communities, and I'll put it in plural, across the country went through last year after what happened on Memorial Day in Minneapolis. Are you concerned, especially as the trial continues in Minneapolis for Derek Chauvin, that we could see another reoccurrence of some of the tensions and some of the distress we saw, or perhaps we might be able to understand a little bit better and we won't have to go through some of the throes that we went through last summer?
Yeah, there's definitely deep pain and deep hurt that is there. And I think what I have to remember, and I think what we all have to remember, is there's a stream that's been flowing for a long time. And like Minneapolis is not just a one-time isolated event. It happens in a stream of systemic racism that's happened in our country. And so there's a potential that tensions could rise again. I pray not. I pray that we are people that can see each other, that we're able to be color brave. And while I love Ansel Adams' photography, that's black and white, I so much prefer color, to see the vibrancy of color that God has created in our world with all different human beings and cultures and ethnicities, and to value each and every one as significant and worthy. And I think when we have those conversations, getting back to what you were talking about earlier, Todd, you've not been a person of color. You don't know my story. You don't, and I'm just learning that I just need to listen in that and just say, you know what, I don't understand. Can you help me understand? And I think that helps lower the tensions as we can have those conversations together that might be hard and difficult. But I think they're necessary so that we can avoid those tensions and those explosions through loving relationships of mutual respect.
And yeah, the youth tends to feel as if they are marginalized.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's why I brought that up in the overall scheme of things, because a lot of the discord comes from youth. The older, wiser heads, those of us with almond hair, we know, we've gone through a few wars, and we sort of have a little bit more perspective on this. But yet, and
I think how we model that for our students, being willing to say, emotions aren't bad. It's what we do with the emotions. So the anger that you're feeling, the hurt that you're feeling, that's not a bad emotion, because it says that something's wrong. And we need to be able to enter those through the loving relationships we provide at Escape to help students navigate those, and we can learn together through that. So I think that's the beauty of what we do.
I know this might be a tough question for you particularly to answer, Todd Krygsheld, but I will ask it anyway. Short term for Escape Ministries, as we are starting to get things back to some semblance of normal and some activities can be planned, what does Escape Ministries have up, quote unquote, its proverbial sleeve to fundraising and community outreach, that we can now have more fundraising opportunities, more community outreach,
Right.
more than just trying to toss bottles and cans into a container and hope, get that money, get those containers over the mire.
Yeah. So we're hoping to, number one, like we're planning on having like a Youth of the Year for Escape, hopefully sometime in May, that we can celebrate and bring people around and come together as before. We're hoping at some point, maybe in the fall, if things have lifted, to be able to have that time together to come and celebrate what God is doing through like a banquet kind of format. Those are still plans we're thinking through, because we just don't know, but we're putting things in place for that. The biggest thing right now is we have our career connections, which will be kicking off here. And that's really significant because it helps our kids learn. Like one of the phrases I use with my own kids is, you need to learn to do a good job at a bad job, and just soft skills, showing up, being a hard worker, no matter if you like the job or not. And businesses are coming around us, individuals are coming around us. Even yesterday, we had a gentleman that stopped in. He was just really dropping off pop cans. He saw a sign that said, "Thank you, Escape, for helping me with my yard." That was near our pop can thing. So he walks in and he says, "Hey, I have 2 acres of land." Turns out he used to do inner city ministry in Chicago. And he had just lost his wife a month ago. And now we're going to be able to come alongside of him and support him. And kids are going to get to know this wonderful gentleman in our community. And so people are really the thing that we like to fundraise, quote unquote, because money doesn't change people. We need it, but it doesn't change people. Programs don't change people. People change people. And all I know, I had a good friend of mine that was part of the AA community for years and years and years. And they had a businessman that came into the meeting, and he was going to write a big check to AA. And they said, "Just keep that, because we want your heart. Because if we have your heart, then we have your pocketbook." And so as we get people engaged and see the beauty of the students that we serve and their families, as they see what God is doing through this ministry, and he captures their heart, their time and their talents and treasures will come behind that. And so that's really what we want people to know, is we are a place that expresses the heart of God to this community and steps in a place that's really critical in a lot of our students and families' lives, and provides options for hope and peace and calm in the midst of a lot of chaos. And so we're excited about that. And I think as we share that story with people, those traditions, and God was really good to us over the year too. People really gave and supported with their time and talents and treasures, so that we are in a really great place as an organization, but always in need and always can do more with the things that people give us. But we just want people's hearts to be grabbed with God's heart.
Todd Krygsheld, the Executive Director of Escape Ministries, passed the word to HA. Thanks to both of you for joining us this morning on Talk of the Town. Look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Likewise. Thank you, Gary, for the time. Blessings.
Thank you very much. Todd Krygsheld on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.